Hello, chefs. This is Chef Skillset. I'm your host, André Natera. Today, I'm joined by Chef Danny Kievit, founder of Leave It to Kievit, a luxury private chef service. We talk about building a private chef business, leadership, the allegory of an artichoke, and the personal transformation that comes with choosing this path. Stay tuned. Great restaurants don't always bring customers in. Great stories do. Because in food, beverage, and hospitality, what you sell is only part of the story. It's the why behind it, the authority you create, and the experience that you build. Market Scale turns expertise into content that connects. Podcasts, video series, and industry education. Not ads, assets. Market Scale has brought Run the Pass and How to Manage Like an Executive Chef to life. Real-world examples of how great content leads the conversation. Because attention is earned, and the industry doesn't need more noise, it needs more leaders.
What's it like being the chef for the stars?
So
I was thinking about you the other day because you posted a picture with Dana White.
yeah.
So you get to cook for all the big names here in Austin.
I mean, I would like to say that I'm blessed, right? I get the opportunity to meet some incredible people,
Yeah.
right? And it's so cool because like I get to be in their lives, you know. And what I've noticed, and I've said this before, is everybody's normal. They're normal people,
Yeah.
right? Sure, there's weirdos, right? Everybody's weird a little bit, but everybody's normal. They put their pants on one foot at a time, and it's really fun to be able to be part of their experience.
Now, how long have you had the catering business?
Can I say something?
Yeah, go ahead.
I don't like the word catering.
What's the word then?
Private chef, personal chef, chef.
Okay.
You know, I think catering.
What's the difference to you?
Okay, so think about a catering experience, right? You're going to think about somebody coming and setting up Schaefer's and opening it up and
Like a
getting
wedding or
Right,
something.
exactly,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
But I want to like come in and like make you feel comfortable, take care of you. I want to serve you, right? I want it's a different level of, I feel, service, right?
Do you do the catering aspect at all?
I mean,
Or do you only do the private chefing aspect?
okay, so if I'm going to cater,
Yeah.
right, I'm going to do it on a different level. Last month in April, I went to Portland and I cooked for 200 people. That would be catering to a large group.
Did you have a chafing dish?
I did not have any chafing.
You do plated?
I created action stations.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Right, so kind of like set it up kind of like a food festival.
Yeah, okay.
You know, but if I do sort of like I like to call it family style rather than buffet, right? And some people will say family style is the food set in the middle of the table, right? And then so you're eating across from each other, or like
Yeah, everyone's
right?
passing platters.
But I feel family style could be set up on a table where you get your plate and you go to it and you get food, right? Yes, that sounds like a buffet.
It sounds just like a buffet.
Sounds just like a buffet, right? But it's built in a way where there's like a sort of like this feeling of
Yeah, communal.
communal,
Yeah.
right? Let's call it communal dining. You know, my grandfather, Grandpa Kievit,
Mhm.
he was a chemical engineer for Shell, right? And when he graduated, when he retired from Shell, he started working with his passion, and his passion was creating wood objects, right? He made grandfather clocks, he made tables, he made furniture, he made all sorts of stuff. Actually, my dining room table at my house, he built.
Okay.
Very cool.
Yeah.
So like this connection, he's Kievit. He's the original Kievit, you know. In my life, that I have been with, there's 4 generations of Kievit. My grandfather, my dad, myself, and my son. So 4 generations. But the connection that I had to my grandfather is wood. He'd say when I was little, he'd be like, "Do you want to go make some sawdust?" And so that was like what I really remember. So whenever I set up these communal family style setups, I use like live edge wooden boards. I use wooden platters, right? And then also, instead of using like a Schaefer, you asked me if I use Schaefers, I'll use like a red Le Creuset, right? And it'll have like fire under it, but it's on this like wooden box, right? So it kind of creates this sort of like farm style different kind of setup.
Yeah, almost like you're doing a tablescape for like a food and wine photo shoot or something like that.
Yes. I think you eat with your eyes first.
Yeah.
Right? You know, like I think the difference between me as a personal or private chef and a caterer is I'm going to come in and I'm going to create an experience. Yes, catering, there's different catering companies that'll come in and have themes and all that kind of stuff, right? But I like to interact. I like to become part of the evening. You know, I think that the senses are very important, right? Your five senses: you hear, you smell, you taste, you touch, you feel, see. Right? So you look first, then you smell.
Yeah, if it doesn't look good, you don't want to eat it.
Exactly.
Right.
Mm-hmm. So
yeah, the old expression of you eat with your eyes first, because sometimes I have a problem with it because like, well, it has to taste good. But at the same time, if it doesn't look like you want to eat it, you're not going to eat it.
I remember we had a conversation, and I hope it's okay that I said
No, sure.
But we had a conversation, and you said, what if you took all of the frill out of food? Remember?
Yeah.
Like, what if Instagram didn't exist?
Yeah.
And you just ate food that was just good? That's how I like to cook.
Yeah, it should be good.
It should be good, but it doesn't have to have like all the ribbons and all the like broken butter sauces and all the oils. And I mean, that's fun.
Yeah.
But it can just taste good. I look at my food sometimes and I'm like, you know, looking at, there's so much information transfer, right? And there's so much out there. And like back in the day when I was first starting, there was the Food Network, and the Food Network was different. It was like The Naked Chef, and it was like Boy Meets Grill, right? Rather than everything that's out now. And you know, you had Food and Wine magazine, you had this, but you didn't have Instagram. You didn't have that food porn, you know,
24/7.
So constant, right? So now, of course, the thing is you compare yourself constantly, right? But,
it's like, I like to say it's like chef thirst traps.
yeah,
That's exactly what it is. Like they're posting something that looks really good, so you start thinking, I got to post something that
I'm like,
looks really good.
does my food look that good?
Yeah, do I need to lose some weight? Or my plate's looking fat?
I know what's going on here, you know, but I always come back to like, my food is delicious and people are like, I don't know. I hate to say it like this, but I kill it.
Yeah.
Is that bad to say?
No, it's fine. I think I think as a chef, you got to have a certain you got to have confidence in what you're doing, because I think you cook better with confidence.
Yes.
When you're confident, when you're behind the cutting board and behind the pots and pans, and you taste something, you say, "That's fucking good." Like you want to serve it to people.
Totally. You're like, I'm proud of this, you know.
Right.
And I think Anthony Bourdain said, when you cook for somebody, you're telling them who you are.
Right.
And you know, so that ability to share.
Yes.
From your soul is amazing to me.
Yeah.
I read a book whenever I was a young chef, and it was called The Soul of a Chef.
Yeah, it was a great book.
Right. And he also had The Reach of a Chef, you know, and those books very much inspired me. They lit me on fire, you know, and that's where I feel like my cooking power comes from.
Is that an artichoke tattoo on it?
It is an artichoke. And you want to hear about this? Is a fun
Yeah,
tattoo.
tell me about the tattoo, because artichoke is like one of my favorite vegetables. And we talk about like food porn on Instagram.
Yeah.
I found this page. I wish I could remember what it was called, but it's just, someone sent it to me, and it's just a guy cleaning artichokes. That's all it is.
I saw it. You shared it. I was
It's like, it's so good. It's
and he
like,
looks so easy. He's like
he just, like nothing. He's just turning artichokes. I'm
and
like,
the sound from it. Oh my God, it was amazing.
He's like so fucking
Yeah.
good. I did a guest chef dinner the other day where I served artichokes, braised artichokes. I love artichokes. They're so underrated. I also call them like, they're the final boss of vegetables, because they're like usually the most difficult one to learn how to, like when you first start out, like a potato's easy. Then you know, potatoes and carrots, and then maybe you graduate to something, but you finish at artichoke.
The final boss.
It's the final boss of vegetables.
I love it.
Yeah.
So artichoke is my favorite vegetable.
Yeah.
And we grew up in my family eating artichokes. And at first it was just the very simple, like boil it for an hour and then dip it in mayonnaise or melted butter with Parmesan.
Yeah.
You know, but they have come so far, you know, I've elevated them. Now I serve them differently. But this is kind of a tribute tattoo to my life. Okay? So you have the first growth of the artichoke. You just see the artichoke, right? And then you cut it in half and you look inside the artichoke, right? Transformation, you flower, right? So it's kind of like my story in a tattoo, I guess, if you will. I mean, my tattoos, I didn't get my first tattoo till I was 42.
Yeah.
I got one of my business, Leave It to Kievit.
Yeah.
I got one
Good
of
name, by the way.
these birds, right? And these birds are Kievit birds.
Okay.
Right? It's called a northern lapwing. It's a Dutch bird, right? It's the Kievit. And so there's 3 of them, and that represents my family.
Uh-huh.
Okay. And then I've got my growth.
Oh, that's a cool story. And you got the pinky ring.
And I got the pinky ring. Pinky ring, you said final boss, right?
Yeah.
Somebody told me that you can't wear a pinky ring unless you're a boss.
Yeah.
I feel like a boss.
There you go. I used to flex a pinky ring.
Well, you know, it looks good,
Yeah.
right? It's got some turquoise in there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When we were talking about, making food delicious, sometimes I feel like chefs, we sometimes aren't, we're attached to the process, but sometimes we're not attached to the end result, meaning that when it leaves the kitchen, sometimes we forget we're doing 100 covers. We think about it right when it goes out, but we don't think about it much after it goes out.
Yeah.
The amount of effort and thought that goes into from the receiving to the cutting board to the pot to the plate. You think about it every step of the way, but as soon as it leaves the kitchen, you think about it much less, if not at all.
Yeah, you're moving on.
You're moving on, right? You're moving on to the next dish. Where when you do that, sometimes I think you think about the aesthetics and this, that, and the other, but you lose the connection with the end result. And I think about like the analogy of a surgeon,
Okay.
right? The surgeon is more attached to the end result than the process,
Oh, yeah.
right? Because the surgeon has to go in, they have to find, the disease, and they have to cut it right out. And they got to be very sniper specific to get it out, right? And if it's done, it's done. Great job. Mission accomplished. Where if they were a surgeon artist, they might show off, well, I could do my knife skills and I could cut all the way around here and I could stitch this up very beautifully and look at my surgical precision, and I cut all the way over here and look at all this, and I might have got it out. Right? That's how chefs are sometimes. We want to show you all this other stuff, but we lose the most important thing is like, was it delicious?
Did the plate come back empty?
Right. Did they find it delicious? Was the customer satisfied? Mission accomplished.
Yeah.
And sometimes we lose ourselves in the process and we forget about the end result. It's like the Indiana Jones scene in the first movie where the guy comes out with all the swords and he's doing all this flash and Indiana Jones just shoots him. Right? It's like, that's what we're trying to do. We just want the result. Right? It's like, you'd have all the flash, but it didn't matter. Bullet in the gun. That's all that mattered. So yeah, I mean, I've been ranting about this a lot on the podcast. So I'm going to stop. Because people are like,
But I like it.
I know.
I like it.
It's something that I think it's an important conversation, but at the same time, I feel like I'm beating a dead horse.
Look at the tattoo.
Yeah.
End result. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And what you're talking about with a surgeon is they got to go in and they got to do their important work, right? But the important work's not done until the person's healed.
Right.
You know what I mean? So, one thing that we used to always say in the restaurant was every plate for every table. Like you can serve, I think Thomas Keller may have said this, you can serve like 99 perfect plates, but that 100 plate goes out wrong, you fail.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I think it is important to look at it as a whole until the end. I remember I used to watch Busboys, and I'd always watch the plates coming back to see if they had food on the plates. And of course you're going to work at some places where, somebody orders a big plate of food and takes 2 bites of it and they love it, but they're just like not really there to eat.
Yeah.
I like whenever you go somewhere where they're there to eat, I want them to enjoy. And I think that's what's kind of cool about like what I do now is because I have to start from inception of an idea.
Mm-hmm.
You want me to cook for you, and then go through the entire process to figure out what all that is, and then how to build it up and set it up, and then how to get it there, and then how to execute it, and then how to follow up and make sure that you had a good time. So it's this whole like this cycle, and it's rinse, repeat, and it's very, very interesting.
It's funny when, talking about plates coming back, I know a lot of times when I would be a chef, when I was a chef, I'm sorry, and I would look at plates and I would say they don't like their food. They didn't touch it. And I would tell the server, go check on that table. Or I tell the manager, go check on that table. I don't think they like their food. And they would come back and they say, no, they said everything's fine. I said, but they didn't touch it. And they said, I know, but maybe they're not hungry, but they said everything's fine. I said, look, I know you think that, but if they're paying for food and they're not eating it, something's wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And if they're saying everything's fine, you need to dig a little bit deeper.
Most people aren't going to say anything.
Right. Most people are not going to say anything. And I think a lot of times we looking back at restaurant service, when the plates are coming back, look at what people are not eating. Understand, like, you might think it's brilliant, but if no one's eating it, It's probably not good.
Mm.
Or taste it. Maybe you overbrined it and it's too salty, right? You didn't know because you didn't happen to taste the protein and you didn't know it sat in the brine, 30 minutes longer than it should have. So I think tasting food and just, having that acute awareness, situational awareness in the dining room and noticing plates that are coming back and noticing what people are not eating. When someone gets their plate and they take a bite and they push it a little bit forward and they say, I'm fine, I'm full. It's like, no, they didn't like something.
Yeah.
Pay attention.
So, like thinking about, those processes and stuff, and like as a chef, and you understand this, you're only as strong as your team.
Right.
You know what I mean? And so like for the overbrining and for the different types of things that can be mishaps and you don't get the opportunity to taste it, you're relying on other people to be your advocate, your ambassador. That's a different thing than really kind of what I experience right now. You know what I mean? Now I'm pretty much in charge of everything.
Mm-hmm.
I have guys that work with me. And the cool thing about how it is now versus how it was in the restaurant is the guys that work with me now, they're all like executive chefs. They're all professionals. And it's really cool too, because, as a chef, and you'll remember this, in your restaurant, you would cut the same fish. You would pretty much make this, unless you had a revolving menu, you're doing the same thing, kind of going through the motions. And you get to the point to where you're not tasting that brine meat because you've tasted it 100 times.
Right.
And okay, it's been in there for 4 days. It's perfect. But what's cool about what I do now is, I think I used the word bespoke before, right?
Mm-hmm.
So like, it's always different. It's a challenge that you build, you set up, and you move on after you kill it,
Mm-hmm.
and that's what I like about it. Cause like, say you come and cook with me, you're going to come and do an experience that you haven't done before. That's different. Maybe you've done it before, but it's going to be a different group, a different place,
Mm-hmm.
a different sort of setup. So it's kind of like re-engaging with your passion.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I love about what I've been able to set up, Leave It to Kievit, is it creates a forum where we can all get together and just get in touch with our passion. And our passion is connecting with people and creating great, whatever it is, experiences through food.
Let me ask you a little bit about the business. Simply because what you do, private chefing, cooking in people's homes and putting on these parties, I don't have a lot of experience in that. I've done it a couple of times. I think we talked about that before. And it's kind of a foreign world for me. And a lot of people always ask me for advice, like, hey, I'm starting my catering business. What do I need to know?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. You're asking the wrong person. I've filled in for people. I've never had my own business. But if you were looking back at it, because I'm sure when you first started, you had a steep learning curve. Like,
Oh, yeah.
what were some of the bigger failures that you had early on that you could save some people some headaches that are listening?
I mean, the thing about going into people's homes and cooking is you're going into foreign territory.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You don't know if you're going to show up and there's going to be pans that are worth cooking there. You don't know if there's going to be a cutting board. You don't know if there's going to be gas. Maybe they forgot to pay the gas bill.
Has that ever happened?
We went to cook a pig at
Yeah.
at a mansion, right? This beautiful home. We went to go cook a pig there for like 30 people, right? So I use a cajachina, right? So we had the pig set up. We were setting up the pig. We built the fire. We got everything, and it takes 6 hours to cook the pig. So that's enough time to go into the house and set up in the kitchen and prep all the stuff that goes with it.
Yeah.
Well, we go in and we turn the stove on to start boiling some water. There was no gas,
Ooh.
right? So we were going to fry bacon wrapped quail. We were going to do all these different things. Well, we ended up cooking everything over the charcoal on the pig, right? So that is,
So you have to learn how to improvise.
you
really
got to
quick.
be able to overcome and achieve. You got to be ready for the unexpected,
Yeah.
right?
It's not like a restaurant kitchen where that oven doesn't work. Use the other one.
Yeah, totally.
Right.
You
You
or
already-
you could call a guy and
Right.
come and fix it.
Right.
So I think being able to be agile,
Mm-hmm.
the saying, never let them see you sweat, just prepare for like everything.
Mhm.
I went and did an event a couple of weeks ago at somebody's house that I can't talk about, right? And they didn't want anybody to come into their house. There was security everywhere you went. We were like escorted.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? So it was a very peculiar situation. We were cooking for 24 17-year-old girls and then the family. And it was their daughter's birthday. And it was this beautiful place on the lake, right? And so this big backyard. So we set up, and I was working with a company that was like a event company that was setting up like the flowers and like the table, and I did all the food, and I brought my wood boards. But I was like, okay, just in case, I'm going to prepare. So I brought my Blackstone grill. I brought my cassette burners. I brought 5 tables with the spandex covers. I brought cutting boards. I brought everything I needed other than an oven, right? And we were able to set up a table, and each table became a station. We did 14 different dishes cooking outside under the trees.
Jeez.
Right? But the only reason that was able to be successful is because I was prepared for the unexpected.
So you start to already build in mitigation plans and contingency.
Now I do.
Yeah, but early on you probably had some.
Early on, I would have been like, you know, I mean, I've showed up to a house before where there was like just like did you ever? I'm sure you read the French Laundry Cookbook.
Yeah.
Or maybe it was in Of a Chef, or The Mind of a Chef, or not the So You Want to Be a Chef, or The Reach of a Chef, or The Soul of a Chef, right?
Yeah.
And talking about Thomas Keller when he started. I think it might have been the restaurant that he started in the woods, in the mountains, before the French Laundry, right? And maybe it was the French Laundry, but they get this place, and the only thing they had in there was like beat up stock pots. So they were sautéing fish in these beat up stock pots.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So like that is the unexpected, you know, but you've got to be able to overcome and to achieve.
Yeah, they still expect delicious food.
They don't care.
Right.
Right? The people that come in there, they don't care that you have 45 tickets coming in within 10 seconds.
Yeah.
They want their food right after they order it. And they don't care about all the other people around them. They care about themselves, you know?
So let's say someone is starting at 0. The only thing they have is an idea.
Yeah.
I want to do this.
Okay.
Where do they start? Like if you said these are like the first 5 steps to getting your business going, what would those first 5 steps
Manifest the shit out of it.
Okay.
Right? So I used to sit in a chair and be like, I'm going to cook in Airbnbs for the highest level people in the world. And guess what I do now?
Yeah,
I do
I know you can't say those names, but I'm curious. Like,
I do that now.
Whose house were you at?
So
how many NDAs do you have to sign a month?
I mean, I sign NDAs, and the cool thing about it is like, I worked in these restaurants, and I cooked for Shaq, and I cooked for, Nolan Ryan, and I cooked for all these people. And my take on that is I want to treat them like a normal person.
Yeah.
Right. So they call me back. But I guess the 5 steps would be like, plan your work and work your plan. Understand what you're doing. Yeah. Learn how to connect with people on a high level and have them trust you. You've got to build trust. You're going into somebody's sacred space.
But where do you even start? Like, how do you even announce that this is your business?
I mean,
how did you
LegalZoom?
How did you get your first customer?
LegalZoom. I worked in restaurants for 30 years. And as a chef, like some, chefs sometimes have a wall between them and the client. Sometimes it's an open kitchen. That's a new kind of thing. But I would always go out into the dining room, right? And I would build rapport with the people that I was serving. And the regulars that would come in, I would always go and talk to them. And you remember Grant Achatz, that guy, right?
Yeah.
Right? He had these people that he would do that for at the restaurants that he worked at, and he would cook them dishes, right? And he would always cook them something different. Right, never make them the same thing.
Yeah.
Right, and
so always send them the styled out PX dish.
So whatever it is, but that person feels like a king.
Right.
And I believe as an experienced creator or as a chef or as something like that is kind of your goal is to make people feel like they're the most important person in the room.
They're the only person in the dining room today.
Yeah. And if you can do that, then you've got something.
Right.
You've got to believe in yourself. You've got to understand how to do it. You've got to know how to communicate and to talk with people, and you can never show them that you're scared.
So how did you get your first client?
They were people that I worked with in the restaurant, like clients in the restaurant. They'd be like, "Can you do a dinner for me?" He's like, "Sure, I can do a dinner for you."
And so did that, is that when the light bulb went off? Say, I want to do more of this?
I was very fortunate. Okay. Yeah. I knew I wanted to do it. Yes. Okay. So I worked from dishwasher to culinary director. Right. And, all the positions in between. And at culinary director, I realized I was like, I am creating a lot of opportunity for a lot of people.
Mhm.
And so, there's some things in my life that I've kind of gone through, some experiences that I've gone through that have really molded me and changed me and turned lights on and created understanding. And in this time of my life and my career, I had a couple of those like very profound moments. And I was at a level where I became kind of stagnant because I was going through the motions. I was cutting the same fish every single day. I was yelling at the same fry cook every single day. I was calling out the same orders. I was listening to the same music while I was selling the same food every single day. And it was just kind of like breathing.
Groundhog Day.
Exactly. It's Groundhog Day.
Yeah.
And I started sitting in this chair and talking to people about how I was going to create this thing. I wanted to cook for Airbnb was a place where people were coming, and I saw an opportunity. And the private chef thing at the time, this was 6 years ago, the private chef thing at the time was a thing, but it wasn't a big thing. There was a couple of guys in town that were doing it.
Yeah.
Right?
It's a big thing now.
It's a big thing now.
It's a big thing. And I know some great chefs, yourself included, that are doing it. And
Tens of billions of dollars a
they're
year.
like, okay, so without saying how much money you make.
Yeah.
Are you making more money now?
I'm making more money than I ever made working as now. I am I'm a special case.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, I know it's more the exception. I'm sure there's a lot of people that struggle.
I mean, it's hard. You know, it's a daily grind. People are like, "Oh, you're so lucky you own your business. You know, you probably have like whatever you want, all the free time." I'm working constantly.
Right.
You know, and what it is I believe, and I think I said this, that relationships are the fabric of life. Right? So you create relationships, people trust you, you nurture those relationships, you follow through on what you say you're going to do, and you crush it.
Does a lot of your business come from just referrals and word of mouth? Like, oh, I work with so and so. You need to cook with him.
I didn't register my business on Google until this year.
Oh, really? So it's just all word of mouth.
It's all been word of mouth. You know, now I have made relationships with certain people that have helped me kind of like I was through a relationship that I had with a really good chef. He was leaving town and he did these dinners for this person. And whenever he left town, he's like, I know somebody you should meet. So I went and met that person, and that person worked for a concierge company. And so their clients that come through, they refer them to different chefs. Well, I became their best chef.
Yeah.
And I actually charged like 10 times the amount of all the other chefs.
Yeah.
But there was this opportunity where they were like, we need a chef because the chef came in here and charged $150 a person and opened up a jar of spaghetti sauce and poured it into a pot.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of that shit too, right?
You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
take pride in your craft.
Yeah.
You know?
There's a lot of private chefs sometimes. And you know, sometimes a lot of people have reached out to me in the past, like, do chefs respect private chefs? I'm like, yeah, I mean, if like, I don't get into that, but I understand where that comes from because a lot of people skipped culinary school or graduated culinary school and became private chefs. I'm not saying I don't respect those people, but I understand why sometimes they feel insecure. Where in a lot of other cases, there's people that were legit chefs that then became private chefs. So I don't think it's as much of an argument as people make it out to be. But at the end of the day, just like you have chefs in restaurants that are opening up a jar of spaghetti sauce, you also have private chefs that are doing that. And just like you have chefs in restaurants that are cooking beautiful tasting menus, you also have private chefs that are cooking beautiful tasting menus. And it's a sliding scale now.
It is. And you know, we talked about this a little bit, but the private chef industry here in Austin has there's so many people that have come into the game.
There's so much money.
But there's so much opportunity and so much. There's room for just about everybody in the sandbox.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that the level of the private chef is also rising.
Right. And something that's new to the private chef world, I think it's new to me because I'm understanding it now more where I never thought about it, 5 years ago. And that is now as a private chef, at least before, I think you were limited to the chefs that you could get for private chefing, where now I think you get chefs at all levels, at the highest levels for private chefing. And I think that really changes the game, and it creates opportunities for chefs that say, hey, I'm tired of the brick and mortar. I'm tired of doing this. I'm tired of being an employee. I'm just going to be private chefing, be my own boss. And is it correct? Probably make more money in a lot of cases.
I mean, look, okay, so you know this guy, right? He won the Bacchus d'Or.
Yeah.
Right? He has done private events, right? And people will put him on their private jets and fly him wherever they are
Yep.
to do these things. And the thing about it is that's great is the people that are doing that, they don't care. Maybe they care, but they are willing to spend the money for the worth of the, you know, the juice is worth the squeeze,
Right.
you know? And so like, yes, all levels. There's going to be bachelorette parties that are coming to stay in at Airbnb, and they want somebody to come over and cook a brunch for them, right? And they're going to pay $50 a person. There's going to be chefs that are going to do that, right? But then there's also going to be a 16-course wine dinner that has, you know, like crazy dishes on it that they're going to pay $500 a person.
Yeah. Here's a crazy story because I don't have a lot of experience in the private chef world, but when I retired as a chef, some people reached out to me like, hey, will you come cook for us in this other city? And I was like, I really didn't want to. I was kind of done cooking. I didn't feel like it. So I threw some crazy number out thinking they would say no. And I said, yeah, I'll do it for $30,000. And they're like, okay. I was like, oh shit, I didn't expect them to say okay. I was like, oh shit, I better start thinking about this. I didn't end up doing it. You know, something fell through with the date or whatever. But I just remember thinking like, oh shit, like sometimes people don't even blink. And I started thinking about that. It's like, if you go to a hotel and you rent a ballroom and you do the catering, they're going to spend $30,000 anyway. So they're used to those pricing.
And a lot of these people that are doing that own corporations or are doing it for business.
Yeah.
And this becomes a tax write-off.
Right.
Right. So the money's either going to go,
Christmas
it's going to go
party.
somewhere,
Yeah.
you know? So, but, you know, I think what you do is you align yourself in a way to where, like I said, you follow through on what you're going to say you're going to do.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you can be anything you want, right? You can be anything you want. I did this thing talking about experiences, right? I did this thing called the Landmark Forum, and the Landmark Forum is kind of like a Tony Robbins event, right? And it's like this really intense. Some people say it's cold, right? But it was good for me. Mm-hmm. And the message in it is you're nothing but your word, right? So I would sit in this chair and talk about how I was going to be a private chef cooking for the highest level people in the world. Mm. I would stand in the mirror in the morning and I would tell myself that I could do whatever I wanted. And I believed in it. And it started happening. I created relationships talking about it. You know, you were a chef, right? You just said that somebody was like, I need you to do this dinner. They knew who you were. You were able to back your word up, and they were going to pay you $30,000 to cook them food. You know, I've gotten tips that were $10,000 stacks of hundreds.
Yeah.
Because I did a great job.
Yeah.
You know, anything is possible.
As they say, the rubber band man.
Yeah. I mean, it was like, I was like, whoa, you know, but anything is possible, you know? I think that, you know, a good definition of success is found at the intersection of opportunity and preparation, right?
Yeah.
So if you prepare, you believe, and you just keep doing it, eventually, if you can see it, that opportunity is going to come across your plate.
The harder I train, the luckier I get.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It is not an accident. It is not an accident that people who work hard and believe in themselves find opportunity.
I want to go back to something that you said, just because I'm sure a lot of people are like, wait. What did he mean? When you said like LegalZoom, and then we just kind of switched subjects.
So LegalZoom, I went in and I started an LLC, right?
So you do that like on Busy, LegalZoom, all these other websites, yeah.
Instead of being leaveittokievit@gmail.com,
yeah,
I'm Danny or info@leaveittokievit.com. Right. I have an entity.
Yes.
I have a website.
So you have an LLC, you got the website.
Right.
You build the business out.
Build the business, and there's so much power in social media.
Yeah.
Right. I feel like the largest opportunity as a podcaster or author or chef is reach. Mm-hmm. The more people that know about you, the more opportunity, the bigger the pool is.
Right.
Right. And think about your bait. Right. Think about your bait, because if you have little bait, you get little fish. Right. So understand your worth.
Explain that a little bit more.
Understand your worth. Right.
Yeah.
Think about a plumber.
Okay.
A plumber goes into your house that you've been like trying to fix this problem for a month. Right. You can't fix it. So he comes in, fixes it in 20 minutes, charges you $250. Right? He's like, my rate's $250 an hour. He charges you $250 for a 20-minute job. right? Well, he has worked for 20 years to learn how to fix it.
To know which one.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you said train hard, you get lucky. You know what I mean? You understand your value,
Right.
right? Because your time is the only commodity that you'll never get back.
And that's also a dangerous game to play, because a lot of people think, well, I know my value, but no one's paying for it, so that's really not your value, right? So if your value is, if you're saying, well, I'm worth this and I'll accept nothing less than this, but no one's buying your services, then that might not be your value.
Well, there's a saying that goes, sometimes you got to bend like a reed in the wind.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that's where like a negotiation comes in, right? So you can figure out a way to make it win for both of you. So now, you're not going to go and do a job. You're not going to go do a job where they're going to pay you $50 a person to do an event, because you know that the food is going to cost you $20 a person, the taxes are going to cost you $15 a person, and your time is not worth $15 a person.
Right. So what are some of your, just on the business side, if we're talking negotiation skills, do you have like some of your negotiation best practices that you could share, so some people listening could?
I have assets.
Yeah.
Okay. I have assets. I have proof of work. I have examples of situations. I have testimonials. I have ways for people to know that maybe I'm not for everybody. Yeah. You know what I mean? And I also stand firm. Now, I said this earlier, I was blessed, right? I went in this, so when I started my business, I was also going through a divorce, right? I left my job and got a divorce within like 6 months of each other. I had worked for 30 years building a career in the restaurant industry, and I jumped off of a tree to hope I could fly in the private chef world. I got my degree in entrepreneurship and management, so I knew that in my blood, I wanted to build something.
So you're basically burning the ships.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right? And so I started fresh. And there's a really good story behind all of that.
Okay, I mean, can you share it?
So without saying too much, I had a major transformative event in my life. A couple of them, back to back, month apart. The first one,
like a spiritual awakening or something.
A spiritual awakening.
Yeah.
Right. There's a podcaster named Joe Rogan, right, and he might talk about this spiritual awakening.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. So I was in this time in this place with these people, and we had an event to where I became to understand a little bit more about myself. And what I became to understand about myself is everything I had done up until this point was give everything I have to everybody else. I was a husband. I was a employee. I was a father. I was all of these things, right? But I saved nothing for myself. Right? Sure, I had gone to college and I had gone to culinary school and I had built a career and I had done these things, right? But I did it for the betterment of other people. One time I had a chef who called me, and he's like, I was sous chef at the time, and he's like, Danny, he's like, do you ever lay in bed at night and wonder how you're going to support 2 kids and a wife? And I was like, man, yes. And he's like, do you ever wonder how bad you want to go be executive chef of the worst restaurant in the company? And I was like, no. And then I talked to one of my mentors, and he says, Danny, don't go to the best place. Go to the worst place and make a name for yourself. So, these like trials and tribulations that I've had throughout my life, I've gone through some really hard stuff, right? It has all led to where I'm at right now. It made me able to go into that house and cook that pig and all of that stuff with no gas. One of my favorite sayings is a rubber band is not effective unless it's stretched. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like there are lessons in life, and if you listen and you can hear it and can see it, then you have opportunity to do whatever the hell you want.
I want to touch on the current state of the culinary industry. And you and I have been cooking roughly around the same amount of time. We probably started our careers. I started mine in 95.
95.
So 95.
Dishwasher.
Same time. And times have changed. Not only have times changed with what the expectation of the cook coming into the industry is now, but times have changed with how we manage now. So the way I managed, or the way I was managed in 1995, is not the way I would manage people today. And even, 3 years ago when I was still actively a chef, I probably wouldn't even manage exactly the way I was managing 3 years ago. In your personal experience, how did you evolve as a chef? From when you came into the industry, what you saw, what you became to what you are now?
Oh, trial and error, man. I remember, like you said, at that time, people were smoking pot in the walk-ins, and maybe they still are. I don't know, but there was a lot more freedom. I think
they're vaping,
and now they're vaping in the walk-in.
Vaping in the walk-in.
And also like in '95, the idea of chef was still it wasn't as glamorous as a position it is now, right? There was in '95, there was Mario Batali, and there was Marco Pierre White, and there was Gordon Ramsay.
I don't even know if those guys were making a name for themselves in '95.
I mean, they were
they were closer to the end of.
And
not only that, but time moved slower then.
Yeah, I mean, you only had the Food Network and Food and Wine magazine,
and you didn't waste time on social media.
No, there was none of that,
and you didn't waste time on Netflix and any of that.
No,
right?
I didn't have any of that. I mean,
you were bored back then. Sometimes
I was working.
Yeah,
I was washing dishes, right? And I realized then that I had power because I could make money.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I didn't care about the glitz and glam. I wanted to make money, right? And so I watched, people, because I was just getting in the industry. Okay, so when I was 15, I got caught by my mother smoking marijuana. I was smoking it, not my mom. I was smoking it. And she said, if you're old enough to do that, you're old enough to get a job. So I went and got a job where everybody smoked pot.
Good mom.
Right?
Yeah.
And so it was kind of thanks, Mom. But in that, I learned so much. I learned, I fell in love with cooking at 6 years old. Right? But whenever I got into this magical place, and it was a restaurant that floated on the lake, and it was, busy, all of these people doing these things, creating this stuff rough, it wasn't fancy. It was people wearing bandanas, sweating, but I was washing dishes, and I would bust my ass in the dish pit, right? And I would wash dishes so fast and so hard that I'd finish before the kitchen got done wiping everything down. And then I'd go into the kitchen and I'd be like, give me one of those, and I'd help them wipe the stuff down. So I learned that hard work would help you grow, because they were like, we want you to come in and start prepping now. So then I got to move out of the dish pit and into the kitchen and start prepping, right? So I learned that performance-based accountability was a thing, right? So that was my first lesson, right? And then I worked my way through different restaurants and stuff, and I ended up after college I ended up in culinary school, right? And at culinary school,
where'd you go?
It's Culinary Academy of Austin. Now it's the Escoffier Institute.
Okay.
Right, so this was back whenever it was just a little chef school. I was going to go to CCA? What was that called? Or no?
California Culinary?
No, here it was the other one. It was
Cordon Bleu.
Cordon Bleu.
Yeah.
I was going to go there,
yeah.
right? But they wouldn't let me transfer my college credits, so I was going to have to take all these classes again, pay all this extra money, and then they failed their health inspection. And I was like, ooh. So then I found this other school. I went to this other school. But at the school, I had been working at this point in restaurants for, I don't know, 10 years almost, right? Not quite, but I knew how to hold a knife. I knew how to do things in the kitchen. So I learned how to mentor. Right. So, and then somebody told me that teaching is the highest level of learning.
It's true. If you're still not sure how to do something and you teach someone, you retain it.
It's the highest level of learning, right? Because you have to know it in order to show it.
Correct.
And before I'd gone to culinary school, before I'd gone to college, I read from cover to cover the 7th edition of the CIA cookbook.
The Professional Chef, or whatever it was.
Professional Chef. That was I read that. I've read that book 5 times.
Yeah.
So I had an idea as technique and all these different things.
I'm going to interrupt. Isn't it funny how in our era of chefs, we used to read textbooks?
Yeah.
That was sometimes the best cookbooks were the textbooks. On Cooking.
What is it now? TikTok?
It's TikTok or YouTube or whatever.
But On Cooking.
Or Chef's PSA podcast, right?
I mean, yeah, what up?
Yeah. Anyway, yeah, On Cooking. That's what I used to read The Professional Chef, 7th edition or whatever it was, and then On Cooking. Those were like my two most used books.
And The Food Lover's Companion.
Like, right? Like we would stand at
What is
pre-shift
that?
and quiz people like, what does Matignon mean? You better fucking know. You're going to get sent to clean the freezer.
I love it.
Yeah.
So back to managing. So, you know, going on through that, then I got I was in culinary school. I was working at a restaurant. I was working at this restaurant called Castle Hill Cafe. Have you heard of Castle Hill Cafe?
No.
So it was this iconic restaurant, right? And somebody had to die for you to get in there. And this was my first like big restaurant to work in. I worked at Jeffrey's, which was fantastic. But then I like halfway through culinary school, I was going at night, and I was like, I need to go during the day because I want to work at night.
Right.
So I had them switch my thing. So I took a break from culinary school while they built a class that caught up with me. So while that was happening, I worked, right? And I worked at this place called Castle Hill. And what I did to find my job is I picked my 10 favorite restaurants in Austin.
Uh-huh.
And week 1, Monday through Friday, I'd go to the first 5. And I'd go in my chef gear with my chef bag, my knives, ready to go, ready to work. Like, let me work. And then the second week I went to the next 5. So I would just continue that week after week after week. And finally I got like 5 interviews at these great restaurants downtown Austin, and one of them was Castle Hill Cafe. I got a stage there, and the chef was a guy named Eric Williams. And he put me on this station, and the clock on the phone was wrong, but he gave me a timeline. Yeah. And I was looking at the clock on the thing, and he's like, "Do you have family already?" And I was like, "Yeah, I got an hour and a half." He's like, "No, you got 12 minutes." And I was like, "Oh God." So I banged out family meal. Anyways, I won the stage. I got the job. I got to work at this place, right? And so in that, I learned flow, because I had just worked at like, kind of like burger places and stuff. Like, I mean, the restaurants I worked at were like a lake restaurant.
Yeah,
or
like Greasy Spoons or
yeah,
something
yeah.
like that, yeah.
But this place was like an iconic high-end fine dining restaurant that was, rooted in Austin. It had been around since, I think, 86. And I was there in 2002, I think. And so watching the way that worked, and this wasn't a restaurant that was like, traditional kind of kitchen crew. They were all like professional cooks. So it was a whole different world. Like, we didn't have a computer microsystem. Everybody, like, the servers would walk by and they're like, they had a baby and they had a mini, and the baby was a baby spinach salad, and the mini was a miniature Caesar. And so the servers would walk by and they're like, "I need a baby, I need a mini," and so I'm like having to remember all of these things plus all of my 5 entree salads and like all of the different things, right? So this place like taught me how to like consolidate and build speed and understand flow and like know how to. I mean, I had a station
how to work
this big.
Yeah.
Taught me how to work.
Yeah.
Right. So that was very good in my sort of like development.
Sure.
And then I would like take a little bit of like, the chef like saw something in me, so he'd be like, go help this guy with this, go do this with that. So he was kind of like delegating me on like little sort of like mentorship type things, right? And I worked my way through that whole restaurant, and I was able to run the line.
Yeah.
Right. Which at that position at the head, you have to like quarterback every single thing, make sure all of it's in order, right? So that learning that order of operations, I think once you're gonna, if you're gonna manage somebody, you got to be able to do the job.
Right.
Right. So learn the job. Right. So I learned all the jobs there. Then the chef's like, "I'm leaving. I'm going to quit." And I was like, "Wow, chef. I don't know what to say." And I was graduating from culinary school, and I was like, "Here's what I'd like to do. I'd like to leave when you leave. I'm going to put my notice in. My last day is your last day." I was like, "Will you do me a favor?" He said, "What's that?" I was like, "Will you change me to the AM shift and teach me how to roast all the meats and do all of the important prep and set up all of your stuff that you do?" And so for the next 2 months, he taught me his job.
Okay.
Right. And then I had got out of culinary school and I'd moved to the daytime. So at nighttime, I got a job working at a restaurant called Reed's Supper Club. And it was a super high end kind of like supper club with velvet seats, serving venison and beautiful steaks and lobster. And I got a job working sauté. And so this is a great story. Right. So when I was at this job, right? I wrote a letter to the restaurant to try and get the job. They were opening a restaurant called Capital Brasserie. I wrote it to Capital Brasserie. I'm a budding chef. I really want to work with you guys. Please hire me. And it was a little bit more elaborate than that.
Yeah.
But they sent that letter to Alex Ralston, who was the chef at Reed's Supper Club. He called me and had me in for a stage. I got the stage. So I got the job. So I was saute 2. Saute 1 cooks all the protein. Saute 2 cooks all the setups, all pastas, all that stuff. This is my first saute job, right? So it was intense. But I made it through stage. My first or second day on the job, I was prepping my station, right? So I'm there prepping my station, getting all my knife work done, all my mise done, getting everything set up. I have to go to the bathroom. So I clean my station up and I put my stuff into my bin and I go to the bathroom, right? When I come back, somebody's on my station. There's a guy named Jose. And Jose was prepping because he was doing R&D for a restaurant, Capital Brasserie, that he was opening up. And I was like, excuse me, that's my station. I need to finish my prep. And he turns around and he looks at me and he looks down on me. You know what I mean? Because Jose is like the chef and I'm just a saute cook. And he looks down on me and he says, what? And I was like, that's my station. I have service. I need to continue my prep and set my stuff up. He's like, well, I'm here. I was like, I was there just a minute ago. He's like, I didn't see you. I was like, I went to the bathroom. He's like, well, I didn't know you were here. How can I tell you're here? And I was like, and he's like, let me tell you something. He's like, own your fucking station. And I was like, wow, own your station. So now I know that my station is my fucking station, right?
Yeah.
And so Jose taught me that I need to have presence and own what I'm doing, right? Own what I'm doing. Don't be timid, right? Have confidence in what you're doing in your area.
Yeah.
Own your station. I think that was the message, right? And so
was he doing that to to teach you a lesson?
Yeah.
Or was he doing that just to be a dick?
No, I think both.
Both. That was just his way of teaching you.
Jose was a one of those leaders that was taught to lead in a certain way.
Right.
You know, because he's old school.
Yeah.
He's a sweetheart, right? I know him now, still, right? And
shout out to Jose.
Shout out to Jose. But you know, that was a very important lesson for me. You know, and then so coming up through the ranks and stuff like that, I've had pans thrown at me. I've had I had a chef that would keep his tongs on the flat
burner?
top, and he would burn you if you weren't going fast enough. You know,
or if the servers were taking their food out the window too.
Yeah.
You know, before it was ready. Yeah.
You know, and so like the chefs coming up were the masters of their domain. They owned their station, and a lot fell on their.
And they'd move you off your station.
Totally, they would outwork you.
Yeah.
And so that's why I say know what you're doing.
Yeah.
Right. But also, I think now the best way to do it is, what is the saying? You get more bees with honey than you do with vinegar, or whatever. Right.
Something like that.
Something like that.
Yeah.
But you want to like lead with love, like Herb Kelleher says. Lead with love. You know, you want to instruct. You want to show. They say, what is it? You get the mind, then you get the heart, then you get the hands. You know what I mean? So you show them that you can do it. You show them how to do it, and then you watch them do it, right? And teach them. And people are going to be part of something that they believe in, something that they feel like they're making a difference, right?
Well, something I was talking about the other day, I was doing this leadership seminar, and we were talking about when people leave jobs. And what people don't understand is like, they're leaving you.
They don't leave for money.
Yeah, they're not. It's not like they're leaving to become doctors. They're leaving a cooking job for a cooking job.
Yeah.
Unless they're changing industries, they're usually just leaving in the same industry. So what does that tell you?
They don't feel important.
That they are leaving you because they did not feel valued. And I often tell people, like, when your people are leaving to go to a similar job in the same industry, the real question you need to ask yourself, what was in it for them to stay?
Yeah.
There was nothing in it. That's why they left. If there was something in it for them to stay because they had a relationship with I've had people work for me for years, even when I wasn't paying them great, because they loved me. They were loyal to me. Or I've had people, not leave because they feel like they're a part of the team and they're growing and they have a great career trajectory. And I'm looking out for their vested interest in the future. And then I've had other people, it's like, you know that they don't feel a part of the team, they leave right away. Nothing in it for them. Why would they stay? And I think that's a big missing part. Like a lot of chefs today are like, oh, everyone quits on me all the time. I'm like, why do you think they're quitting?
Yeah.
Like, what's in it for them? Why would they work for you? If there's nothing in it for them, you can't expect people to be loyal to you today just because. It doesn't work that way.
No, it doesn't. They're not lucky to be there.
Right.
You know what I mean? And I feel like in my career, I mean, I've, you know, I worked at Trulux, right? And at Trulux, I worked at every unit in Texas, right? I was different levels in the units, but 4 of them, I was executive chef, right? And so, unfortunately, what would happen, fortunately for me, unfortunate for somebody else, or maybe it was fortunate for them because maybe they just weren't in the right place at the right time, I would come in and take over their position, right? And whenever somebody comes in, and you've probably done this, takes over a position for somebody else, there's a team that was there attached to that other person.
Right. Someone will leave.
So you have to go through that, you know? And so I think that one of the things that I learned in the managing of that is how to be humble.
Yeah.
You know, they're there for a reason, right?
Yeah.
And I think the way that you talk to people and the time that you talk to people, the time and the place of talking to people is very important, right? So if you yell at somebody in front of, like, I have an example. It was New Year's Eve, right? This is my first executive chef position. I was, you know, we were running the line. It was 10:30. We closed at 11. One of the cooks went into the walk-in and he got the last of the pontchartrain sauce, right? And he heated it up and he put it on his line like he thought he should do.
What's
right?
pontchartrain sauce?
It's like a cream sauce with like peppers. It goes on top of a red fish. We put like crab and shrimp. It's like a kind of Creole type sauce, right?
Yeah.
And so he gets the last of it, heats it up, puts it on his saute station, right? And then he's like, "Chef, we need more pontchartrain." After he ran through that, and I was like, "It's in the walk-in." He's like, "No, I used the last of it." I'm like, "You what?" You know?
Yeah.
And I'm sure you've experienced this before, you know? So there was kind of like, as a young chef that feels like he can run the line and does everything perfectly, why would that person not tell me or somebody that we needed more prepped?
Right.
Right? So I laid into him. And he took his apron off and he threw it in my face and he walked out.
Yeah.
And now I was man down with saute and I had to run the line and run saute.
Yeah.
And help close the kitchen down before I did all my orders and all that other stuff. So I learned that if you push somebody into a corner in front of their peers, they have no choice but to fight back.
Yeah.
Unless they're a coward,
Yeah.
which most people in kitchens, as you know, are not.
Right.
There's a lot of machismo in there. It's a hot place with fire and knives. You know, there's going to be tempers that flare. And so I learned to go cool off. So I'd take them into the walk-in and yell at them.
Yeah.
You know? But also, you think about like the way to counsel somebody, the best way is the motivational sandwich, right? "Hey, you're doing a really great job here. I appreciate you. You come into work, you look good, you know, you're really carrying yourself well. But when we get busy, you fucking suck. Your food goes out sloppy, you piss everybody off, and you're not doing great. I really think that you have what it takes to do this. And let me know what I can do to help you. You know, if you need support, I got you. But, you know, we gotta bring that up a little bit, you know?"
Chef, as we get closer to the end of this great conversation, if you had a Mount Rushmore of chefs out there, like who's your top 4 chefs that really influenced you?
Okay, so
And they could be people you worked with or just people that you
Yeah.
indirectly influenced.
Okay. I think number 1 for me is Thomas Keller, right? He was very inspirational to me. I read all his books. I love his philosophies. I love the precision that he takes, the pursuit of excellence. I think that's great. Grant Achatz, dining experience of my life. The story that he has from what he went through, you know, worked for Charlie Trotter, worked for Thomas Keller. Thomas Keller sent him to work for Fran Adria for a week, comes back. He's making great dishes. Thomas Keller says, "If you make these great dishes and put them in my restaurant, they're no longer your dishes, they're my dishes." He understood
Great
that.
story, by the way.
Understood that. Then he went and he started Alinea. At Alinea, he faced cancer. He beat cancer, lost his taste buds, learned how to build a team because of that, because he learned that I need to rely on my people to be able to take this. So he took it to a whole nother level, right? And then continues to push the envelope still today. Amazing chef. I went and had dinner there. It was the dining experience of my life. I could probably tell you every course still. Third chef would be Jamie Oliver. I love Jamie Oliver. I think he's a sweetheart.
Did you see the new Netflix show?
No, I think we talked about it though. You know, and
I saw the Thomas Crow one. I haven't seen the Jamie Oliver one fully yet.
I look forward to that.
Yeah.
And then I would say the fourth chef is Alex Ralston, and Alex was the chef that I came to work for at Reed's Supper Club, and then he went to Trulux, and then brought me on to Trulux. This guy has
Is he still around?
he lives in the Pacific Northwest now.
Okay.
And he's working at a taco place doing some really cool fermentation, pickles, sauces, all sorts of fun stuff.
Very cool.
He is a very talented chef, right? That believes in food.
Yeah.
And his call sign is Yes, Chef Alex.
Yeah, Chef Alex. And if you had a chef's PSA for people out there listening, what would it be?
You know, every day get better. You know, one of my mentors, Chuck Smith, he told me, he's like, once you think you got it, you don't got it. You know, so like I feel like we should always be learning, right? So push the envelope. If you feel like you can do it, you can. You know, you just have to believe in yourself and go for the gold. You know, 100% of shots not taken don't go in.
That's right. Yeah. And where can people find you?
LeaveItToKievit.com. My Instagram is LeaveItToKievit. My tattoo is LeaveItToKievit. I am Kievit, and I'm very Googleable. Today is May 20th. It is my dad's 74th birthday. Happy birthday, Dad.
Awesome, brother. Well, thanks for coming in.
Thank you. Right on.
Well, I hope you enjoyed the show. You know what to do. Make sure you leave 5 stars if you're listening on Spotify or anywhere, really. If you're watching on YouTube, hit the like and subscribe button. I've completely revamped the Chef's PSA store, shop.chefspsa.com. My team added a ton of new items. I advise you to go check it out. Just peruse, look around. Maybe you see something nice that you like. Keep supporting the show. Go to chefspsa.com. You get books, obviously the merch, early access to episodes on Substack and Spotify for premium members. We'll see you next week. Hit the porno music.
Yo, it's André in the kitchen, mixing, dropping chef knowledge, no fiction, stirring up the beats, heating up the session. Listen close, class is in session.